This is the SMG-203 Gallant. I've spent a long time playing with it trying to figure out what it's supposed to be for, and after maxing it out, I think I found exactly what it's designed to do. It is arguably the weakest weapon to come with the Exo Experts Warbond, especially when it came alongside the universal anti-tank utility that is the Pissile, the mobile chaff clearing power of the Bulletstorm, and the sheer brawling power of the Breakthrough Exosuit. In a nutshell, it's the cousin of the Knight SMG, trading damage and other stats for medium penetration. I've actually done a comparison of the Knight versus the Gallant before, and as you can see, the Gallant does trade a lot to get that extra level of penetration. But the question is, was it worth it? To answer that, we need to see where the Gallant actually performs better than the Knight at enemies that they both can fight, lightly armored and unarmored chaff. While the Knight technically does more raw damage, against enemies who have light armor, it has to deal with the resistance from only matching the armor class, dishing out 65% of its damage. That means against something that is largely light armor, like a Brood Commander, the Knight hits for 58.5 damage at most. The Gallant, however, deals its full 65 damage because its medium pen exceeds the resistance of the light armor. So technically, against lightly armored enemies, the Gallant actually performs better than the Knight despite its lower damage, at least until durability gets factored in. However, against unarmored chaff, which is most of the garbage cannon for the enemies, the Knight is able to serve its full 90 base damage, dealing a good 28% more damage than the Gallant. This means, as a chaff clearing weapon, the Knight definitely outperforms it in this area. But what about where it stands when compared against other medium penetration primaries? Does the Gallant have a place among our current choices? Here is a table that compares the equivalent medium penetration primary guns that we have right now. In terms of damage, the Gallant is dead last, just losing out to the Liberator Penetrator because it has less durable damage. However, it has by far the fastest fire rate of all weapons, cranking out bullets at a almost 1400 RPM, giving it the highest DPS of all weapons here. Despite technically having the highest ammo capacity in the mag, the base 50 rounds will only last for 2.2 seconds of continuous fire. And as you can imagine, trigger discipline is paramount if you don't want to totally run out of ammo within the first 3 minutes of the mission starting. It also has the second highest damage capacity in a single mag, only beat by the Reprimand by 250 damage. This does change once you have the extended mag in place, however, blowing everything else out of the water with its massive 4550 potential damage. There is just one problem. The Gallant, like the Reprimand, has a gigantic drag force of 120%, making your shots lose damage steeply even at modest ranges. On top of that, while the recoil on paper doesn't seem too bad, in practice, it's actually horrendous if you go full auto with it. So what does this all mean? The Gallant is a weapon at war with itself at range. Its drag force bleeds damage fast. Its recoil at full auto sends shots wide before they even get there. The DPS number looks impressive on the table, and it is, but DPS only means something if your rounds are connecting. At medium to long ranges, both those stats are actively working against you. You're burning through a magazine in 2 seconds, and a meaningful percentage of those rounds aren't landing where you need them to. What all of this points to is that it is a weapon that has one preferred engagement distance, and it isn't far. The Gallant wants to be up close. That's where 1400 RPM and the highest DPS in this bracket mean exactly what it should mean. Get close, stay close, and the stats that look like a weakness on paper will disappear entirely. The problem is getting there. Closing the distance on medium armored enemies can be a real challenge. It probably goes against your instincts to walk up to the conga line of heavy devastators going full auto on you, or to stand face to face with a dozen reinforced riders looking to turn you into Swiss cheese. And yet, up close and personal is exactly where the Gallant needs to be. But look at this table one more time, specifically at one thing none of the other weapons here can do. The Gallant is the only medium penetration primary in this lineup that you can fire with one hand. And that means you can make use of the ballistic shield to great effect like no other can. It lets you close distances safely. It absorbs return fire, melee attacks, and even flame and bile attacks that would otherwise punish if not outright kill you for pushing into close range. This pairing with the ballistic shield is what lets the Gallant live up to its name, as a weapon combo that lets any Helldiver bravely push into enemy lines, bringing the battle to them with close quarters medium penetration. This is the one playstyle that the Gallant is designed for. In any other case, you're better off using literally anything else. Now that we know where and how the Gallant wants to be played, we can explore what it's actually good at dealing with in terms of enemy breakpoints. Bile Spewers are one of the best enemies the Gallant and shield combo is designed to fight. Not only can you tank their bile spew, the medium pen from the Gallant makes shooting them in the head and mouth very forgiving, which makes taking them out very consistent. The same is kind of true with the Hive Guard, since you can take them out in as little as 9 headshots at close range. Brood and Alpha commanders are also in the same boat and are exactly the type of enemy the Gallant has an advantage over against the Knight. You can take the head off a commander in 9 shots, whereas the Knight would need 10. Small difference, but this is where the medium penetration advantage comes into play, given that the Gallant has 28% less damage than the Knight. While it has a small pool of good matchups against the bugs, the Gallant and shield combo shines best when facing the bots, given you can absorb and tank a lot of range gunfire that isn't explosive. Scout and reinforced striders can be brought down with only 8 shots to its waist. This is where the medium penetration actually makes a big difference, because apart from the rockets or the pilot, the only other consistent damageable part of the striders are the legs, and they are made of 75% durability. Taking out the lightly armored legs actually takes longer at 16 shots, twice as long as actually hitting it in the medium armored part. Against Devastators, while the Knight can technically bring them down very quickly by unloading into their armored bellies or with a couple of shots to their head, the Gallant has the advantage of flexibility. If need be, it can bring down a Devastator with 14 shots to the chest. Not ideal, but it's also a very hard target to miss. So even if you are so unlucky as to miss all your headshots or are panicking, it will die eventually from soaking up all the body shots instead. Finally, against the squids, the Gallant really has only one shining purpose: to gun down Overseers. When shot at close range to the head, even the toughest of Overseers will die from 4 shots. This actually makes it really good at dealing with multiple Overseers at once, since their attacks, both melee and range, can't penetrate the ballistic shield. As far as effective breakpoints go, this is about as much as the Gallant can do decently against. Well, technically there are 2 more enemies I should add. The Gallant's medium penetration means it can bring down War Striders by shooting it in the hip joint. The bad news is that you need to dump an awful lot of bullets to do so. And while the ballistic shield will provide you with some cover to close the gap, the War Strider has plenty of explosive power to repel your advance. Similarly, the Gallant can technically take on the Harvester. The problem is that you might have to first bring down its shield, which at best is going to take 24 bullets. That's already half your base mag. Then you'll need to aim for its hip joint, which is going to need 54 bullets if you land every single shot in the best case scenario. That means you will always use more than one mag to try and bring down a single Harvester. Not ammo efficient at all. Even the War Strider needs 50 well-placed rounds at close enough range to bring down, assuming you don't miss anything. Against both these enemies, it's possible, but certainly not feasible. Now, in my honest opinion, I think the Gallant is really only great in bot missions where the shield can give you a lot of value. The sheer volume of unarmored enemies in bug and squid missions really puts a strain on the ammo economy of this weapon. Spending a large portion of the game reloading and scrounging for ammo isn't exactly the most fun thing to do, especially when things like a single flesh mob can eat an entire, if not 2 magazines worth of bullets. As also can be seen from these breakpoints, the Gallant is really operating on a tight budget of bullets. Between closing the distance and placing your shots well, it sounds like just trying to make the Gallant work is a lot of work in itself. Fortunately, as you play and unlock some of the attachments it has access to, the experience and performance of the weapon improves greatly. The first I would highly recommend is Extended Mag for the increase to your magazine capacity, which increases your sustained DPS, allowing you to maintain aggression for longer. This comes at the cost of having 2 less mags, reduced ergonomics, and slightly worse reload, however. The other attachments that will benefit you greatly are the Vertical Foregrip and the Compensator. Both of these will drastically reduce the vertical recoil of the Gallant, making it much more manageable to use and aim. In fact, if you crouch while shooting the weapon, not only will you be more or less totally protected by the bullet shield, but your shots will be really accurate, especially if you are using burst fire. Given this selection of attachments, there is only one armor that would pair perfectly with the Gallant and ballistic shield combo: the Siege Ready armor. On top of getting 30% extra reload speed to offset the longer reload speed from extended magazine, you are also getting 20% more magazine to work with. This amounts to an extra 70 bullet mag, giving you a total of 420 bullets. The increased reload speed really pairs well with the frontline aggression the ballistic shield provides. It makes the playstyle a lot more fluid and responsive. To answer the question we asked at the beginning of the video, was it worth losing a bunch of stats and damage for the Gallant to get medium penetration? If I look at it as a whole, I would say yes. The addition of a non-explosive one-handed medium penetration SMG is a new inclusion to our arsenal, If you enjoy playing with the ballistic shield and also love using the Knight SMG, then the Gallant is definitely a great addition to your variety of weapons. I myself am not much of a ballistic shield enjoyer, and I barely touched it even when I started playing Helldivers when it first came out. But after testing and learning how the weapon works, what it can and can't do, and how to make the most of its strength, I actually enjoy playing with it and I'm happy it does exist. Is it meta? No. Is it fun to play with different toys and still be effective? Hell yes. And to me, that is what is important. Fun through effective variety. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Helldivers.